What's going on, guys? My name is GamerTech, and welcome back to part 4 of my Aruba vlog. Today I want to talk a little bit about how my Jeep tour went, as that was the main event of the day and it lasted 4.5 hours. So without further ado, let's get into that. With the Jeep tour, before I went on that, it started at 1:45, so I basically spent the morning just eating and swimming as normal. So, swam down the lazy river a little bit, in the Caribbean Sea as well. Had to be my parents' little helper just to deliver beer back and forth, because they had nothing else for me to do. And then, at 1:45, we hopped on the Jeep, and we all met up with the other Jeeps. There were like, I think, 6 or 7 of them in total. Heard a little information on that. It was just some basic information about the tour, what we were going to see, how the ridings would be like. We went like 50 miles per hour everywhere we went, even on the road, off-road. We spent a lot of time off-road too. It was like on dirt roads. And in case you didn't know already, a lot of Aruba is a deserted wasteland, if you will. It literally looks like any sort of desert, and the heat is just extremely painful. So yeah, after hearing that information, we got on the road. We weren't really fast, and the lights on the road weren't working, so there was no like green lights or red lights, no turning signals and stuff. We just blared on through. Drove like that in my home state, we'd get arrested. So this is a one-time event. That and the Aruba trip. Anyway, after we got off the road, we just started heading to our first stop, which was the natural pool. It was a small pool created by the waves of the Caribbean. I really don't know what to call it, but either one works, so why do I freaking care? So our first stop was the natural pool. We drove off-road for that. It literally just looked like a complete desert. There was cactus everywhere, rocks, barely any grass, just a whole bunch of dirt. A lot of ATVs were there too, because the whole ride was bumpy. Like, since the trails were off-road, there were a lot of potholes, there were a lot of rocks, and that meant that I'd like go flying out of my seat, or we'd be like just holding on to the handlebars just so we don't fall off the freaking thing. Of course there were seat belts, but they weren't like your regular car seat belts. They were like put across your waist, so all that could do was just keep you from flying, not like swing side to side. My grandma got injured because of that stuff, but it was minor, so she's alright. So yeah, after we got to the natural pool, after surviving what seemed like a death wish, because we paid like $100 for each person on this thing, so we're getting our money's worth by having fun on this thing, no matter how dangerous it is. Arrived at the natural pool, got to see it. It was kind of small, but we did get to snorkel under there and see a bunch of fish, and there were also a lot of crabs crawling across the rocks on there, which was pretty cool. I wanted to pick one up and then possibly take it to a restaurant, get that thing killed so I can eat it. But I didn't want to get pinched, and my parents wouldn't let me do it anyway, so what could I do? Yeah, I swam around in that for about an hour. It was enjoyable. I don't often snorkel, so it's a little weird that I just go under the surface a few inches instead of like completely submerging myself and just holding my breath. But then again, I was able to breathe at only that range, so I took advantage of it. Anyway, after the natural pool, our next stop was the natural bridge, which just happens to be a landmass that collapsed underneath, so it looks like a land bridge. So there was the Caribbean flowing underneath that, and the thing is actually quite dangerous. It's full of cracks, and it's really unstable because some of it actually collapsed just a few years ago, barricaded off some water flowing through, so now it just turned into a beach. So yeah, no one can go on it, but at least we can get some good photos of it. And the worst part of that was that you had to pay $1 to use the freaking restroom. However, in spite of that, I didn't have to go to the restroom anyway, so that saved us some money. We actually got free snacks. I can't remember exactly what they were called. It was like pistache or something. Pitache. I have no freaking idea, but it's like a little, you know, those pita chips. It's like really, it's kind of like biting into bread that's shaped in a triangle, but the inside's filled with cheese, so it tasted quite well. Look it up if you know what I'm trying to say. All I can do is just describe it to you. I don't know what to call it. Pistachio. Anyway, after the natural bridge, took a few pictures of that. Then our next stop was the chapel. This thing dated back to like the 1700s when it was built, so yeah, it's preserved. People still go into it. It's very small inside, and there is a statue of the man upstairs, or God, and you could pray to him there. You had to be silent in the church. Got about a good 10 minutes of looking around there. There were some pews outside made of stone that you could sit on, so I spent most of my time on there while I was watching people carve up coconuts and make drinks out of them. And then my grandparents surprised me with some watermelon. That was okay. I mean, it gets me hydrated and it's quite refreshing. Anyway, after all that, since there wasn't that much to do except stare at the cactus and think about eating that cactus fruit, we moved on to our final trip, which was the lighthouse. And of course, lighthouses are on the edges of cliffs, and the house of the lighthouse keeper that died quite a while ago and was turned into a restaurant. We didn't really get out for the lighthouse. We just was told some history about it, and let me tell you, I don't like history lessons at all, but we did pay a lot for the trip, so I couldn't do anything else but pay attention, otherwise I would have gotten in trouble. So heard a little bit of information about that lighthouse from the past, learned about what they did with that lighthouse keeper's place, turned it into a restaurant that I haven't eaten at yet. I don't know if I will, but it sure does sound interesting, and no, I do not remember the name. It's too freaking long for me to remember. Plus I'm on vacation, so why do I freaking care? Anyway, after that we all just drove back to our hotels, and we were all very tired, so we went to bed quite early. I could never forget this trip though. That was the bumpiest off-road trip I've ever taken. Didn't really do a whole lot of swimming that day, but that was the main thing we did. So that basically just summed up my day. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Helps my channel grow, which is my main goal to do. I would really like to get 1,000 subscribers by the time I get into college, and I'm just now going into 9th grade, so let's see if we can't make that happen by making this content better with your help. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later.